Hi, it's Denise. I just wanted to come to you today and answer some questions that I get a lot about my locks. I get asked questions almost every single day because I work in a hair salon, so people are always talking about hair. I get looks every single day. Some people will approach me in public and ask the questions, other people just stare. So there are about three or four that I get asked most frequently. The first one is, how long have you had your locks? I've had my locks for 16 months now, which isn't quite a year and a half. The reason why my hair might look a little longer than people that have had their locks for a year is because my natural hair had already been growing for about 3 years before I started my locks. I did chop off my relaxer, I did have a fade, I did have very, very short hair. So my hair pretty much looked not much shorter than it does now when I decided to lock it. Another one that people ask is, how did I start my locks? I started my locks with two-strand twist, comb coils, two-strand twist. They're basically the same to me. I think the outcome, looking from a distance, is basically the same. Braid locks, I didn't really want those because I thought they would be hard to touch. And then when I started my hair with two-strand twist, I started getting an interlocked. So those are kind of like, it's like braiding the roots. So if I did start with braid locks, I would have saved myself the unraveling and whatnot, but because I interlocked, I wasn't able to avoid what I was trying to avoid in the first place. How many locks do I have? That's another question I get asked a lot. The answer is just over 200. I started my Loc Journey January of last year, and when I started it, I started first day of January, I started with 100 locks, and I looked at myself in a mirror and I told myself, this isn't what I want. I want something that kind of looks like sister locks or micro twist, something really, really small and really, really versatile. So maybe a week or two after I started my locks, I was watching a movie one day and I took every single lock out, divided it in half, and then made two where there was one. So I went from having like 100 locks to 200 locks. And I have been combining over the months. I've never, ever lost a lock. I've never had one break off before, knock on wood. But in the back right now, I don't know if I can even find it. I have my first, here it is. I have my first two-headed dragon where I tried to combine these, tried to combine it up to here, and it locked, and then this part isn't locked yet. I think I have 2 or 3 more to combine before I could stop worrying completely about any of them breaking off, because they do get smaller over time, especially if you've been interlocking in the past like I have. But I'm pretty happy with the size of my locks. I'm at the point where I retwist instead of interlock, and when I retwist I pop in a movie, and it takes a little bit under 2 hours, and I do it every like 6 weeks or so. I try to wash my hair once a week. Winter, I was a little bit more lenient because I didn't want my hair to dry out, but washing my hair is becoming a little bit of an issue. I've said this a million times, I have really, really thick hair, and I took some pointers from a YouTuber by the name of Locs where she actually suggested that you don't just put the shampoo in, rub it around, let it run down the length of your hair and rinse it out. Like, you get your hair soaking wet, you put the shampoo in, you pump it in by squeezing to make sure it gets down to the core, and when you rinse it out, you pump in the water, you squeeze it in to make sure it rinses out all the shampoo. And I tried that one time and I was able to see that because I was pumping it, shampoo that would have been left in was coming out, and I've been doing it ever since. It takes longer to shampoo your hair that way, but at least you know that you're getting it clean. The last question I get asked a lot is, why did you lock your hair? Why are you locking your hair? Why did you decide to lock your hair? I just always liked locks. I always thought they were really, really edgy, but I was always too afraid to do them on myself. I thought they were too permanent and I get too much of a negative reaction from people. I had to wait until I was like in my 30s and away from, you know, teenagers or people in their 20s, peers like in school or whatever, and away from the type of job where you're being labeled all the time, or you're out where you have to fit a certain box to fit in. I had to get out of that completely before I was finally comfortable enough to start my locks.